evening, everybody. Let's see, this is the Zoning Board of Appeals. It's Thursday, May 21st, 2026. It's 7:35. We're here at the Newbury Municipal Office, 12 Kent Way in Byfield. We're on the second floor hearing room. Purpose of the meeting is for the Zoning Board of Appeals public hearings. So we have Chrissy Beaupre, who's our administrative assistant. My name's Eric Spahn, I'm the chair. We have Mario Wally, who's a member. Michelle Weigler, who's an associate member. Josh Walker, who's an associate member. And we have Larry Murphy, who's our liaison to the planning board. So with that, Mario.
You want me to just read the first one? We're going to continue.
Yes, please.
Okay. Peter Nikolakopoulos, 129 Northern Boulevard. The applicant is requesting a special permit finding for relief from section 97-4D5C01, increase in footprint, and 02, increase in height of the Newbury zoning bylaws, and any other permitted relief as may be required under the town of Newbury zoning bylaws, to allow the proposed use project for renovations to an existing single-family dwelling, including the addition of a second story and roof deck on the property located at 129 Northern Boulevard, Plum Island, Newbury, Mass. 0191, Assessors Map U04, Lot 28. This hearing is automatically being continued to the ZBA's next regular scheduled meeting, which will be Thursday, June 18, 2026, here at Town Hall at 7:30, due to non-compliance with required legal and publication requirements.
So the legal notice did not.
He never paid in time, and then it never published in time, and he thought that he could have it run both ads run the following week, and per our bylaws, that can't happen. Has to run twice, 2 consecutive weeks prior to the hearing. So I have to automatically continue it.
Great. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Continue.
Yes, so let's, is there a motion to continue?
Make a motion to continue the meeting till Thursday, June 18, 2026, 7:30 here at Town Hall.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so it is continued to June 18th, which is the third Thursday in June, here, 7:30. Thank you.
Okay.
Read the next one.
Okay, Gerald Fandetti, 15 Sunset Drive, the applicant is requesting a special permit finding for relief from section 97-4D5C01, increase in footprint, and 02, increase in height of the Newbury zoning bylaws, and any other permit relief as may be required under the town of Newbury zoning bylaws, to allow the proposed use project for the raising of the existing single-family dwelling on the property and the construction of a new single-family dwelling on pilings with a garage on the property located at 15 Sunset Drive, Plum Island, Newbury, Mass. 01951, Assessors Map U02, Lot 80, and this has been continued from 4/15/26.
That one in here?
Right there.
All right, what's up?
Thank you for the continuance we received, first of all. And we have updated our drawings and our application form, so everything is in coordinates with each other. And we've addressed, I think, pretty much all the board's concerns on the drawings and on the submittal application form. So if the board has any questions regarding those documents, we can address those right now.
Okay, and there was a site visit held?
Yes.
Yes.
And who was at the site visit?
I was.
I was.
You were?
Yeah.
Both?
I was.
Okay. And the site visit was to view
Determine number of bedrooms.
view the existing structure?
Yep.
And so is that included as part of the documentation here with this? Is that what this?
No.
That was received from an abutter as
Okay.
proof of the listing of what is out there.
Okay, so we'll take this,
Yeah.
we'll take what has been added in order. But I guess my question was, the drawings and the application update are a result of that?
Yes,
Yes, we, after reviewing all the documentation presented to us and the historical documentation for advertisements, even though when we purchased the property, there were two beds, one in each room, it is, I guess, classified as a one-bedroom. So we clarified our drawings to show a two-bedroom house,
Here they have two-bedroom.
proposed two-bedroom.
On this form there, it says two-bedroom.
Yes, two-bedroom.
I think you determined, you said it was a one-bedroom.
The original house.
Well, you may find that the documentation that addresses the existing house may still say that we claim it's a two-bedroom, but that's only because we are waiting on a decision that we
Okay.
presume would happen today.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's.
Our position is-
To-
Yeah, it was a two-bedroom house. However, we're acknowledging the fact that was a one-bedroom, and
Okay,
we redid our design to show the new structure to be a two-bedroom.
in terms of your
So based on our
walkthrough,
walkthrough, I determined it was a one-bedroom only because there was only two rooms and a kitchen.
I agree too. One room definitely has a wider opening also, that one would be the bedroom. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doors or casings on either room, to be honest, but,
and
for that.
that's a fair conclusion. I don't mean to interrupt your deliberations, but just to clarify, the original proposal for the proposed house was only for two bedrooms initially anyway. There was some question as to whether or not the office space could be interpreted as a bedroom based on the relationship of the bathroom to it. So we did adjust that like we had spoken about at the previous meeting.
Well, the original drawings called out a guest suite above
That's
the
true,
garage.
that is true. There was no bathroom, there was no closet associated with it. But yes, you are right. We did make that clear that that is a storage unit.
okay, so that's what we have is your reporting, it's the same, right?
Bedroom.
And there's, okay, so there's some application verbiage that we probably need to be going over.
Yeah.
There's no drawing, and so we're at the point of the walkthrough saying it was a one-bedroom, a kitchen, and another room. There's some agreement from the applicant. So then from there, what exactly has been changed on the drawings?
Specifically, the space above the garage is clearly identified now as a storage unit, which is how the clients intend to use it. And the office area where we had discussed at the last meeting, we were going to change the door. We're going to add a door to the bathroom so that it wasn't perceived to be part of a suite. It's the half bath, the powder room for the public, if you will, portion of the house.
Got it.
In the storage area, is that going to be heated, is it going to be finished? What's your
My
plan for
intention
that?
is, well, do you want to
Yeah,
speak to
it's
that?
gonna be storage. It's,
But is it going to be finished, or is it going to be heated?
yes, I'm anticipating it would be heated and finished, yeah.
Well, to clarify, what storing there is not like lumber and bicycles, it's artwork. And
We have an
and
extensive-
sculptures and.
We have an extensive art collection and antique trains and boats and all this kind of stuff that we have collected over the years. And we have several storage facilities around the area. We want to consolidate the most important items in our home. And that's one of the reasons, if you notice the width of the corridor there, that corridor is not only an element for transportation around the house, movement around the house, it's for display of the artwork. So that storage area will be a part of that whole process of storing and displaying materials that we've collected over the years.
And I can add that Charlotte is quite the collector. She's an artist herself, and she's got vast amounts of art.
Another change we made that the board recommended was the, having the driveway have access only from Sunset Drive. And we included a updated survey to show that.
Maybe I'll just look at yours.
Appreciate it. Go ahead, I'll let you go ahead.
No, I was just looking at you. Yeah.
So is there a doorway to the storage unit?
But I'm showing, well, it'd be a doorway from the garage, separating the storage unit. Yes.
In the house, in the house,
From the house,
upstairs.
it would be at the, we're anticipating at the top of the stair, there would be a door. I mean, you'd have to fireproof the garage, so it has to be separate from any other part of the house.
You can't
So you have
access it
that.
from the house. though.
That was my
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Okay.
That's not true. You can.
Well-
If it's built
Well,
correctly,
you have to
you
go
can.
to the garage and then go up the stairs.
Yeah, there's a way to access it. I guess,
Like a separate egress from apartment, is that what the concern would be?
yeah, yeah.
There's
definitely.
no second egress, and there's no way to access it from the interior of the house unless you go out of doors into the garage.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's my concern, is that it should be accessed from the inside of the house.
Oh, I would think you wouldn't
Not
want it, just because then it makes it more integral to the house and more like living space, and less like storage.
Well, I think there's a few concerns with that, right? It was a bedroom, right?
No, that
Last
was a
month.
bedroom.
Well,
Well-
last month it was a bedroom.
It was
And
proposed
now-
as a guest suite,
now
that was
it's
never
just
fully fleshed out.
Storage. And so, because you can access it separately, I think, and it's gonna be finished space and heated space,
Yeah.
down the road, that could very easily become a
Well,
separate.
I don't buy any of those arguments.
There's no
It could
bathroom.
be, all these spaces.
You don't have to buy it, but
Excuse me,
this is
excuse
my
me,
thought here.
Excuse me, all these spaces in that house, any house, can be modified into anything else.
But this clearly
Not-
has a
I
separate,
don't
this
know.
clearly has a separate.
Mr.
entrance.
Vendetti, let her talk, please.
I just want to emphasize the fact.
We understand, but just let her
Okay.
talk. We get it.
Okay.
This clearly has a separate entrance, though, that could be seen as a separate entity on the property.
I don't
Because
see-
you're going through the garage to get to the storage, you don't have to go through the house to get to the storage unit. That could that's an ADU, right? You got a bathroom and a
No, this
little
is-
kitchen.
There is no.
I know there isn't right now, right? But
Yeah.
You have to
we're
go
all
through
very
the-
smart about, you guys are both very smart about this too, right?
You have to go through the
We know how
garage.
easy it would be to do that down the road.
So you understood the concern, right?
Functionality.
Yeah.
Functionality.
I mean, it's gonna be a storage area, is what it's gonna be.
So. if it's
We have
on the
no
plan-
intention of using it as a bedroom.
Okay.
or a
so-
guest
so-
unit.
So hang on a second.
Okay.
So,
Door to make the stairs.
Yeah.
Mr. Vendetti, size of the building is an issue in terms of the neighborhood and what is being built is appropriate for, our opinion of the neighborhood. So let's get back to metrics first, then let's get back on to perception. With the new ADU allowability, it could come back before us as an ADU.
And that would be a separate project,
True.
yes.
And there are certain plans that are represented that obviously look different than what the intent is. And I'll use 80 Northern Boulevard as the intent with a breezeway, where it was obviously separated two dwellings on one. Our guidance has been that if it is presented as such, then that is what it's supposed to be, and if we have a concern, we can have a condition, but it is the building inspector as the enforcement person. So I think our perception of what things are labeled, like, you know, there are clearly 2 bedrooms here, there is an office, and there is now a third. And so the concern of just trying to meet the intent of the bylaw that says that you on Plum Island can have one more bedroom, because that's how the whole sewer system was calculated as to what was existing, and then they added one for everybody, and then they came up with a sewer size. And we're trying to protect not exacerbating the flow into a now set sewer size, right? What, I guess I would like to go and start with, like, okay, what's the lot coverage? What's the FAR? What's the height? We're talking about the number of bedrooms being 2, and then that can be a question as to whether that gets to another bedroom. If there is no plumbing over there, and there is no, this is all on sort of piles on the dune?
Yes.
Sizing's all within the law, with the law coverage maxed out like that 20%, but the changes all fit within the requirements, correct?
So maximum lot coverage is 20, existing was 6.4, the proposed is 20. Maximum height is 35, the existing is 10.3, and the proposed is 24.8. Maximum story is 2, proposed is 2, being a 1-story building with the unit over the garage, big space over the garage. And the maximum FAR is 25, existing is 5, and so the proposed is 20. The whole lot discussion evolved around access because of the unimproved Dartmouth Way, and creating or creating 2 lots, one of which or both of which had access off of the actual paved road. So where are you in terms of is this the plan? Is this the architectural drawing? Is this like the schematic? Or are you just trying to get this approved and then think about it, or is this?
That's it.
Okay. Have you gone to Concom?
In the process right now.
So what have you've submitted everything to Concom, but you haven't had a meeting with them?
We are preparing documentation for COMCOM.
Okay, so they haven't seen anything yet.
No.
The size of the previous existing building and the size of the new building and the shape of the lot and dunes, and how the driveway goes, is you're meeting the coverage requirements, but there's a fair amount going on in terms of that site that I wonder if Concom will have you had any discussions with them?
Just briefly, yes.
Did they like nod, blink, or just wait for the drawings? 'Cause,
We're waiting for documentation.
okay.
I can just say one thing, based on our site view there, the dunes are pretty close to the building, current building right now. I would think maybe Concom wants to review this first.
Oceanside dunes or
No.
estuary side dunes? Just in terms of the structure, just
It's
curious.
not on the ocean.
The grade is higher on back
So
here.
you're talking Oceanside. 'cause
Right,
it's
and it
both
slopes
sides.
down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of wraps around
It's
here.
not the ocean side, it's the marsh side.
We drop down to the street here.
Right, Dartmouth Way is the marsh
The
side.
dunes are back here.
The dunes are back here, and the driveway comes up. The house is up on piles, and the driveway climbs up into the garage, and then it's all one level with obviously second level of the garage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no surveyor, but I mean, you know, in proximity to the building, it looks close.
Okay.
My only point is maybe we wait till Tom comes out.
So, last time when we deferred this, because we wanted to understand the existing structure, we wanted to do so to understand the bedroom count in order to understand the size of what was there and what was existing and what you were allowed for the bedroom count, but two, there was some questioning of the size of the structure.
Right.
So, so we've determined the bedrooms. There is a discussion going on about whether the space over the garage, storage or possible bedroom, but is that your concern? Is that the space over the garage?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I'm concerned about the overall size as well. Can I just ask a question for 1 second? On this plan, it says proposed deck. Like at the top of the driveway?
Wasn't that an error last time?
Was it?
These are new drawings, though.
Oh, no, maybe not.
Yeah?
Is there a revision?
514?
Yeah, there's your-
Yeah, 514. First one was 326.
Do you want to come up and look at it here? Because I think that is a piece of text that's floating and not.
Maybe it's from like an old,
Oh, it's on
Even
the
though
survey drawing.
there's like a hash there
That's,
too.
that's,
This
the
is,
surveyor just left that on, yes, that's
Yeah.
an accident.
okay, so we can cross that off.
Yep.
And really, probably should have said existing structure. There's a
Right.
proposed driveway, and then there's the outline of the building.
Yep.
So there's no
Yeah, there's no
Okay.
deck.
there's no deck there.
Yeah, I'm concerned with the overall size as well. It's significantly larger than the current house that's there. And I do think that's a detriment to the neighborhood and to this specific location.
Do you,
I mean, other people should
Yeah,
share.
I mean, I have a few comments if you're.
okay, go ahead.
I mean, I'm agreeing with Michelle here. I do think that it represents a dramatic intensification of use. And despite, you know, complying with all the dimensional requirements as, you know, the setbacks and things like that. And I think the issue really is whether, you know, a 3,500 more square foot structure replacing a 786 square cottage fundamentally alters, you know, the intensity and use and the functionality of the neighborhood. I just think it's an enormous.
Well, there's, you know, you guys approved those two houses down at where the restaurant used to be.
We're just
That's
talking,
an intensity of use there as well.
what's the square footage on, what was it?
I don't know what it
Well,
was.
then,
Well, I think
I mean, I'm
Eric
just
Eric
throwing
always
these things
knows.
out. My house at 4240.
can I finish?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think, you know, the label of a two-bedroom, when you look at a study, a library, office, and other living spaces, doesn't reflect the actual functionality use. Not saying you're gonna do anything differently, but that size, based on functionality, is a question. When you combine a 2.5 bedroom and a private office with a closet and a library and an office, the average two-family home in Massachusetts is about 1,500 square feet.
Well, this is not an average house.
Well,
Okay.
this is not an average island either. I mean, that's why we
Well,
talk about.
that's why you guys are reviewing all these
Exactly.
projects, and I respect that. However, there has been precedent everywhere on the island where these houses have been replaced by larger houses. I'm not the only one.
I know, we're currently talking
And as a
about.
matter of fact, my house at 42 Fordham had a 400 square foot house on it, and because of the lot size, my house there is 4,600 square feet. That's a precedent.
We're
The
talking about this
So-
house right now, and then we can talk about other homes.
So,
Okay.
we understand the precedent argument. We don't, we say that we're not setting a precedent. the bylaw specifically says that is what is being proposed meeting the intent of the bylaw, and is it deemed to be more detrimental to the neighborhood? And there's a fair amount of leeway on our side in terms of interpreting what the neighborhood is and what is more detrimental. So when we started this project, and the first step was to understand the lots, the two lots, the proposed moving of a lot line, with the understanding that in doing so, that we would be creating something that allowed access from Sunset Drive. Right?
Correct.
We all agree with that.
Right.
Two, you had proposed something that had made a big and a small lot, the first round.
Yes.
And then we asked you to go back and we asked you to look at Plum Island, and you looked at the southern half of Plum Island, and you showed us that there were some small lots, and there were some large lots, and there were some medium-sized lots. And so then our ask was, we don't see giving favor to one lot, and my words were cheating the other lot to make a small lot and make a much bigger lot. That we wanted the lots to be more equal, right? The size of the lot, the size of everyone's lot on Plum Island, then gives them parameters against the dimensional requirements of the bylaw, of the lot coverage, of the FAR, and the height is standard for everybody. So that if you have a really big lot, you can build a really big house. If you have a smaller lot, you then might run into limitations as to the size due to meeting those criteria. And then we take those criteria and we understand that the size of what was existing and the size of what is proposed, and we view the neighborhood, and if there are like houses, we are, at least in my point of view, we're trying to be fair to homeowners, to give the same rights that the neighbors have to somebody that wants to do something. And when someone says it's too big or too small, and there's 5 houses in a row that are all the same size and they're slightly over the FAR, we tend to allow a little bit over the FAR because it is equal. And so there is, the effort then is also that we are trying to improve every piece of property on Plum Island, and if there are nonconformities, other than the size of the lot and other than frontage, because you can't change your frontage, you can't change your size of the lot unless you buy another lot. But we already resolved that in the previous go-around in dividing the lots. Then you are, the things to be judged on are FAR, lot coverage, height, and number of bedrooms in terms of meeting the dimensional requirements that are listed in the bylaw. Right? So we've previously, these 2 lots were created. The 2 lots have a certain size, and those 2 lots, with that size, something that meets the dimensional criteria can be proposed. I think what we have is something that we're seeing, that what was there and what is proposed there may meet those dimensional requirements, but the size or the expansion seems quite large. If I'm trying to express what I think
Yeah, I mean, the expansion's of almost 4%, four times greater than it was. It's not one, it's not 2
But
times.
where does it
It's not-
say that?
It does say, what it does say is that if it's detrimental to the neighborhood. it's
Why is
what
that
the-
detrimental to the community to have a house 1 lot away, is 4 stories tall?
Because what you're doing is you're
I'm-
increasing the intensity and the mass that was previously there.
Of that lot, but the lot,
I'm talking about what was there.
I'm talking about the neighborhood that you were mentioning. I'm talking about the neighborhood has houses that are 4 stories tall because they have a very large attic on a small lot. That is very intense use.
But we're talking going from one
This
that
house
is
is,
700.
I want a one, excuse
You're not
me,
listening to
I'm
me.
sorry.
You're not listening to me.
I just have to get.
You're not
this
listening to me. You're not listening.
I'm getting,
Okay.
I want to build a 1-level house. And for that, I'm being punished.
You're not. You're not being punished. What you're building is a massive home.
If I made it,
It's
if I
massive.
went vertical.
That 3,500
if I
square
went
feet
vertical, that would be
is a
acceptable.
4 to 5 bedroom home, is a 4-bedroom home. If you look at an average home, that's that size, that's 4 bedrooms.
We're counting garage and decks here. You count everything in FAR here.
We're counting
you
everything in
count-
another house too.
You count
We're ca-
everything.
We're all counting oranges to oranges, it's
No,
not
not,
different things.
you're saying the average house in Massachusetts, a 4-bedroom house is 3,000 feet.
Yeah.
Or whatever, that doesn't, that
Includes-
does not include garages, and it does not include decks, patios, and all those kind of attributes that are added to the house. Here at Plum Island, we have to include everything, that's why it appears.
And there's a reason for that,
Yeah.
and there's a reason
I
for that.
agree, but
Because we
It's a
don't want.
unique environment.
It's a barrier island, it's unique, and we don't want to increase the intensity of the island.
and that's why we comply with that. We comply with it.
Let's,
To me, why it's a detriment to the neighborhood here, this portion of Plum Island is not as dense as when you go further north, right? And I know you were talking about the townhouses that we approved across from Sunset Grill. That's almost like the urban center of Plum Island. Where this house is located,
This is 2
it's-
lots away.
where this lot is located, it's a more, the lots are
I'm sorry,
larger.
I don't agree with you.
There's a lot
One
of
more
room
thing,
for
every
deliberation.
neighbor
And-
with the
and-
Sunset, across the street for that restaurant, was in agreement with that because of things like garbage and 125 seats versus 4 condos. They were all in agreement with that because it was better for the island, it was better for their space, better for the neighbors, it wasn't more detrimental. Now, if you put a restaurant on there with 125 seats, that would have been more detrimental than the 4 townhouses that are going up.
so that was one of the items that I said in terms of every application before this, we're looking to improve to a conformity that meets the bylaws. So, Josh, you haven't spoken yet, do you?
Yeah, I mean, we set a standard to meet the bylaws, and the plan falls within those bylaws. You know, detriment is, there's a lot of room for interpretation there. And while I understand and express the concerns, it's like, he's meeting the written law, right? So, detrimental to the neighborhood, like legally detrimental. I think like the COMCON process is gonna be interesting, you know, and I think that's gonna be a big part of this process, but, I mean, I view, impact, intensity of use, but like, you know, property values, there's some, you know, some positives, like, in my understanding, we're trying to interpret these laws in the Plum Island overlay and make sure that he falls within those restrictions, and we can imagine what anything he might do with the building, but that's kind of what's in front of us right now, and our job's to interpret that. I think, there's a lot of arguments for it being detrimental, and we can kind of hear those out, but it's, you know, at the end of the day, like, that's the job, right? If it's-
In regards to being detrimental, the house that's there now is practically falling down. Is that positive for the neighborhood? This is going to be $1 million plus house. How is that detrimental to the neighborhood?
So, everything is taken.
I don't understand.
Within context, or it can be taken in the context of being grouped or singular. So if there's a shack on there that's falling apart, like, yeah, that is detrimental. But if that shack in terms of the environment is quite small and the next project is quite large, there's an opinion that is detrimental. So let's hold the discussion for a second. We have three items here, Chrissy, that were submitted to us.
Yes, the appraisal or description of the property as a 1-bedroom. And
Yep.
then concerns from Paula, the
Is that
abutter.
this one?
Yes,
Okay.
that was received.
So who sent this in?
There's a group of 6 or 8 abutters. One of those abutters sent it in. That's what appears online as a description of the property.
Okay, so we can all agree that we've already discussed this and what they're printing out here and saying to us and what you guys did on a site visit and you guys have agreed to it, so we'll put that aside and we'll read everything on that.
Put my thoughts in there.
The next one is from Paula Irving.
Yes.
You want to read it, please?
Okay, please include my comments for the record for the zoning board for 15 Sunset on May 21st, 7:30 PM. Dear ZBA board members, the last zoning meeting and email identified a follow-up hearing from 7:30 PM. As I received no correspondence concerning a change of that date, I was Town Hall 19th of May for that meeting. Unfortunately, I'm out of town tonight, I can't attend today's meeting. I did forward this last listing of this property, one bedroom with barely 800 square feet of living space. The revised drawings still show a quadrupling of the living space, including 2 official bedrooms, a separate studio, a library, an office with its own bedroom, and an expansive bathroom space. The owners of this property include multiple major properties on the island and beyond in this real estate portfolio, and thus have the means and the ability to quite easily transition this from an initial 2-bedroom home into a minimum of 5-bedroom property in a matter of weeks post-construction. All of this is very concerning as this owner is clearly attempting to skirt the rules by simple schematics. A changing bedroom into offices, library, studio, storage space is in no way keeping with the intent of today's zoning restrictions for what is an 800 square foot 1-bedroom home. Sincerely, Paula Irving.
Thank you.
Okay, Jay Martell, 4 Bryn Mawr Way, Plum Island, May 21st, 2026. Supplemental opposition and request for continuance. 15 Sunset Drive, map 2, parcel 80. Dear Chairman and honorable members of the board, I'm unable to attend this meeting. Continued hearing due to prior obligations. I respectfully request that this letter be read into the record in its entirety. This letter supplements and incorporates by reference my comprehensive opposition letter of March 19, 2026, and all the documents previously submitted for the record in this proceeding. 1. Request for continuance, inadequate notice of substantial revised plans. The revised supplemental plans dated May 14, 2026 were not received by abutters until approximately 12:14 p.m. today, barely 7 hours before 7:30 p.m. hearing. These plans contain material changes including a new 2nd-story level, increased FAR, increased height, and a restructured layout. 7 hours is manifestly inadequate for any party in interest to meaningfully review revised architectural plans of this complexity. Abutters standing under GL 40A-11 have a right to adequate review time. A vote tonight on plans received hours ago would deprive parties in interest of meaningful participation and create unnecessary appellate vulnerability. I respectfully request continuance of no fewer than 21 days. 2. The revised plans are more intensive, not less. The board should examine the actual numbers. In several critical dimensions, this project has gotten worse. The FAR increased from 20 to 23. The applicant increased the ratio of built structure to lot area after the board hearing opposition about overdevelopment. This is a move in the wrong direction, approaching 25% maximum. The height increased from 21.2 feet to 24.8, a 3.6 foot increase driven by the addition of a new 2nd story. On a lot with 20 feet of frontage in a neighborhood of modest cottages, this compounds visual mass and incompatibility. Floor area remains at 3,988 square feet, still more than 5 times the existing 768 square foot cottage. The 110 square foot reduction from February submission is cosmetic. The lot remains at the 20% maximum. No reduction in impervious surface has been offered. 3. The new 2nd-story storage level. The revised plans now include a 2nd-story level above the garage labeled storage, accessed by an internal staircase and encompassing approximately 450 to 572 square feet of enclosed space. This floor did not appear in any prior submissions. The FAR counting. The board should require the applicant to confirm this space is fully included in both FAR and lot coverage calculations, and whether a 2nd-story change any dimensional analysis. Conversion potential. A stair access 2nd-story space of this size above an enclosed garage is readily convertible to a habitable living space. If the board is inclined to approve a deed restriction recorded at the Essex South Registry permanently prohibiting conversion of this space to a habitable area should be required as a condition of any approval. Height impact. This addition directly explains the 3.6 foot increase. This is not a minor refinement, it's an entirely new floor. The studio, library, and office spaces. The board site walk confirmed existing structure is a 1-bedroom dwelling. Under PIOD section 97-4D5, 1 additional bedroom may be created, allowing a maximum of 2. The plans show 2 labeled bedrooms which facially complies. However, the plans still include Charlotte Studio, 282 square feet, library, 248 square feet, Jerry office, 170 square feet, 700 square feet of additional enclosed rooms, each functionally capable of serving as bedrooms. Personalizing labels do not change functionality capacity under C80 CMR. Bedrooms are defined by function, not label. The board should require a building commissioner determination of whether any of these rooms constitute bedrooms by function, and if the board is inclined to approve, deed restrictions recorded at the Essex South Registry should permanently prohibit conversion of any of these spaces into bedrooms, accessory dwellings, units, or short-term rental use with enforcement rights for the town and the abutters. 5. Prior objections remain unaddressed. By March 19th, opposition raised specific statutory objections that required findings in the board's written decision. None have been addressed on the record, and the revised plan resolves none of them. 1. The not more detrimental finding under General Law 40A 6 and PIV 797 4D cannot be made given a 412 floor area increase, quadrupled lot coverage, and increase in height. The doctrine of merger, has town council been consulted as requested? Question mark. If so, what was the opinion? Question. If not, why not? Question. Infrastructure deficiencies. No fire suppression plan, water supply analysis, emergency apparatus, access documentation, stormwater management plan, FEMA flood zone compliance analysis. The May 14th submission addresses none of these. The application remains facially incomplete. Conservation Commission review has not proceeded. ZBA action. No order of condition has been issued. This is now the third material 5. This is now the third material revision. Each square foot with higher FAR, higher height, and a new story, each submitted shortly before a hearing. Self-created hardship, unpermitted work at 11 Sunset, Dartmouth Way, Paper Street, and the easement confirming the lot's functional deficiencies all remain unresolved. Under Davis versus Zoning Board of Chatham and Wendy versus Board of Appeals of Billerica, a decision that fails to address material objections raised by parties withstanding will not survive judicial review under General Law 40A-17. 6. Procedural matters. Open law meeting. I respectfully note for the record that questions were made regarding whether open meeting law requirements under General Law 3820 have been fully satisfied in prior hearings on this matter, including the March 19, 2026 hearing at which abutter testimony was restricted. Conflict of interest. Given the significance of this application, I respectfully request that the board confirm on the record that all members participating in deliberations and voting have made the disclosures required under General Law 268A, including as to any professional, financial, personal relationships with the applicant's representatives, or parties associated with the application that could give rise to an appearance of conflict.
There's none. Anybody have any interest in this? Okay.
7. Formal request. Continue the hearing for no fewer than 21 days to allow adequate review of substantially revised plans today. Require submission of all outstanding infrastructure and life safety plans before the next hearing. Provide the status of the town council referral on the doctrine of merger. Confirm on the record that all prior written submissions from J. Martello are part of the official record and will be addressed in the board's written decision. Confirm conflict of interest disclosures under General Law 268A for all participating members. If any approval is contemplated, require deed restriction permanently prohibiting conversion of the second-story storage level, the studio, the library, and the office of habitable bedroom accessory dwelling units and short-term rental use. Enter this letter into the record in its entirety and read it out loud at tonight's hearing. I reiterate my strong opposition to this application. The revised plans do not address the fundamental concerns raised in my prior submission. The project remains a 412% increase in floor area on a profoundly non-conforming lot with 44% of required area and 16% of required footage. The infrastructure deficiencies remain unaddressed. A new second story has been added without prior disclosure, and none of my statutory objections have been responded to on the record. I reserve all rights under General Law 4817, respectfully submitted, J. Martell, 4 Bryn Mawr Way, Plum Island, Newbury, Mass.
Okay, so there's a lot in here, and we've already covered a lot, and okay, so I'm gonna propose 3 things that will ultimately be in a continuance for 1, Jack is not here. He was one of the original voting members. We have alternates that are here. If Jack does not show up next time, we have the associate members that sat in can continue on with the hearing.
Jack can watch this on video and he can continue on. So we won't have a technical issue of members being present for this hearing. I don't know whether Jack being here is deemed by you to be more favorable or less favorable to the board, but we'd have to make sure that Jack saw it, or I guess we could make the determination of the associate member that would fill in. Two, I think we'd really like to have you go through COMCOM, even though they're their own entity and we're not proposing anything, but we'd like in this project to make sure that we hear what they're saying before we go on, because we have some disagreement on size and shape, and if they have issues with dunes and coverage, they're gonna dictate some change, and you'll be back here anyway with a change of plans. So it's kind of trying to head off a circular thing. Two, we'll make the effort to have a response now that Mr. Martell has put two fairly lengthy letters in front of us. The board should do the due diligence in terms of responding to this, or it's just gonna be hanging out there. So I think we're gonna get to a continuance on this. I would say that, again, that we previously looked at the lots and trying to make lots that were more equal size and more equal to the neighborhood. Once you have a lot, you can't change the size and you can't change the frontage, so even though it seems like there's percentage increase, it's again, you have a lot size and now you're applying FAR, lot coverage, to the size of the lot. And that's the same for everybody. Height's the height, and whatever you're whatever you're non-conforming for the lot size and the frontage is covered by the FAR and the lot coverage. Does that make sense? So, understanding that we, in our discussions, have some issue with the size, we need to make sure that that size is related back to the bylaws, and also, I don't know if anybody has, but do we have the previous study of the sizes of the neighborhood that was originally proposed in looking at the lot size?
We did the analysis just on lot size, not on relationship of houses to the lot size. So we just did a lot size analysis.
But I think that would be helpful in terms of having a squint test or something of the neighborhood, of saying like, okay, so if this is an average size lot, and this average size lot allows you certain sizes by the bylaw, then the average size of the homes could all be this size.
Can I ask you a question about
Yep.
that? Is it possible to get the FAR for the adjacent lots? I know you can get the footprints, and you can look at the height, but can you actually get the number, the FAR?
You can go to My Maps, I think, and ask for more information, and it will give you the owner, it will give you the lot size. I'm not sure it's gonna give you the
Well,
dwelling.
because it's an important distinction, because our house is one level, and those are 3 plus.
True, and
I
that's,
think the assessors would have square footage of the
yeah,
house.
And then there's another interesting aspect that's not being considered when you talk FAR. I mean, when a lot of houses are up on pilings, the lower level is obviously open and used for parking area. And, it doesn't count as FAR, but it's part of the structure, mass of the building. So that's another indeterminate that is hard to analyze.
yep.
So these kind of things are all out there, and when you look at the neighborhood, I mean, do you look at that? How do you look at that?
So-
There's a lot going on here.
There is
It's
a
not-
lot going on here, and the bylaws, again, on Plum Island, the PIOD is, and we've talked to town council a fair amount of times on this for certain projects where there seems to be some confusion or we need some guidance as to understanding that our leeway is in the judgment of the neighborhood. And I thought I went through that fairly quickly. It's your argument to make, it's your effort to present to us, it's not our effort to make your project work, it's our effort to double check and say, yes, it meets the interpretation and the physicality of what is in the bylaw. So if the board, what I'm sensing is the board says it's too large and it's too big, and it's too big because of the smaller house that was existing to the bigger house, then our guidance is in not more detrimental to the neighborhood. So now we're discussing what the neighborhood is. So in creating the lot size, you did present the neighborhood so that we could look at it, and what I looked at in that drawing was, if there was one lot that was tiny and you were proposing your lot to be equal to that tiny lot and the other lot to be bigger, then you were cheating the separation, because the average, you were creating a lot that was on the smaller side and there was only one of them in the whole area. If by dividing these lots and making them more equal, and the lots were more equal, then because of area, everybody in the more people in the neighborhood would have the same rights as these lots that we were creating. So you create one lot that was really big and one lot that was really small, then this lot in the future would always have a small house or always be limited. And that didn't seem fair in trying to equal out the neighborhood and be more uniform in terms of what was going on in Plum Island.
Another question will be, how do we analyze what was previously on the lot and what is currently on the lot? If we're talking about, well, this is a small house and now we're proposing a big house, and we want to do an analysis of that whole milieu of issues, how do we find out that information? Where are we going to find that?
Well, unusually out of scale, right, for the neighbors, I like the, not to be proven more detrimental, the language, like unusually out of scale, there's no set parameter, right?
There are dimensional requirements, and there is language in the bylaw about the dimensional requirements shall not be closer, the side yard should not be closer than 10 feet unless an existing side yard exists. There's something about the front yard and an existing building line, which we've been interpreting, so that we don't end up forcing somebody to follow the strict literal reading of the letter, and then you're driving down the street and all the houses are in a line and one house gets pushed back only because we're literally intending it. If they're all equal, it's a much better neighborhood and a sense of community than if we're creating oddities only because so that's where the leeway comes in terms of the bylaw. Does that make sense? Am I answering that?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So let's let Concom have their say. I think the board's argument is going to be it's too big and it's going to be too detrimental for the neighborhood, so we might as well look at a little bit more of the neighborhood and understand that I don't know, if there's an equal size lot with an equal size house, or there's an equal size lot with a slightly lesser house, but it is 2 stories and it's up on piles and it has a big pitched roof, and so it's at the 35 feet and you're down at 24?
Mm-hmm.
That's the argument that this house, in terms of its size and its positioning, is equal and even less detrimental than others in the neighborhood.
I think it is hard to compare a house that was in the flood zone that by code had to go up on stilts. Is that correct? You're not in the flood zone here, so you don't have to, right?
The flood zone's right through the house.
It has to be.
Elevation 13, that's right.
Okay, so you're just not going up to be able to park underneath it. Instead, you're doing a garage.
We are up to comply with the topography.
Requirement.
The topography, to keep 2 feet in the back, you have to be 8 or 10 feet in the front.
Yeah.
But again, if someone could make an argument to the neighbors that if this house was put up on piles to park underneath it, it would be taller and it would be stretching the gabled roof to be under 35 feet, would be much taller than a
Much
one-story house that they're looking at the sunset over. right? And the Plum Island Grill was also a positioning of where the new structure would go in relation to neighbors, so that the neighbors weren't totally blocked by the new structure, and that's why they were in favor of its positioning. And as Mario said, they were also, you know, the abandoned nature, and also on the backside is where all the grease and the traps and everything else happened. So there were favorable arguments or betterment for what was proposed as to what was there. And they had 3 sewer betterments, and they were gonna drop 2 and use, or 3 to 2, so they, you know, they were going in the right direction. And again, everything looked like it was an improvement, even if it was the same size, which was over the FAR, but there were betterments and improvements in terms of most of the guidelines within the bylaws.
We're trying to stay within the guidelines. We're not trying to go over the guidelines.
I understand that, but
And as a matter of fact, below the guidelines. Our
Sure.
FAR is well below, our height is well below. So the only reason why we have 20% coverage is because we want a one-level house. It's because my wife is in a wheelchair. That's why we need this.
I understand.
I would design a completely different house if we were 30 years younger. Wouldn't be designing this house.
And-
I want the board to consider why we need a one-level house.
And we like to hear and understand, but also do not take full value or faith in exactly what you are doing, if it meets the intent. If it doesn't meet the intent, then there is an issue that you've created a problem with a piece of property, with a dwelling, that won't be conforming or could be conforming in the future. Like, we're supposed to avoid making problems. So, and as Josh said it, and I think I said it too, if, you know, we are supposed to take for face value what is on the plans. There is nothing in the bylaws or in the building code that says you can't have an office, that you can't have a studio, that you can't have,
Exactly.
that you can't have a personal dance studio. You can't have a public dance studio,
Right.
because that's not, that's a use item. But in terms of what room somebody wants in a house, and so we're back to the physical nature, which is our discussion, that this appears too big. And so what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to figure out how the board is going to determine whether it's too big, instead of, if we need more than it's just too big, we need something, and that something is in the relation to the neighborhood. So I think we need to go back to
Okay.
those plans,
We'll do
and
some
we need a
analysis.
little bit more argument from you as to, these are all the favorable things that we're doing, and these are the things that we are under, and here is the neighborhood, and here are 3 lots that are all the same size. And let's look at what's on those lots and compare it to this and say, well, this is a betterment, or this is larger, and we can make a
In
determination.
regards to changing these things, I have been in the business a long time and have dealt with many cities and towns, officials, and have never, ever, because of reputation, going around changing things from one use to another use, to another space, to another space. And that's,
Your history.
I just
Like,
don't like
We hear
being
you.
accused of that in these letters that come floating around.
Yeah, we're not calling somewhere else on your reputation. Again, we'll leave that up to the building inspector. Depending on where this goes, we have conditions. If we feel like, I don't know, the house has to be blue, we'll write the condition as blue, and the building inspector will be the enforcer. Like,
Okay.
we don't go out and enforce it, so, and yes, we, as everyone else who is a property owner, are taking you for what you're representing in this meeting. Unless somehow you're a convicted felon and you shouldn't be out of prison, then we're not listening to the past, we're listening to what you're presenting and what's in front of us right here.
Yes.
So,
I think it's important to know, nothing is personal here, we're looking at what's
I'm
on the
just-
page
I'm-
and what's on the
I'm
site
just making
right
reference to
now.
the letters that, I'm making
You
reference
keep
to.
cutting me off.
I'm
It's
sorry,
very frustrating.
I'm sorry, I apologize for that. I was just making reference to the letters that came in.
So,
Yeah,
and,
I think, and we're happy to hear what the neighbors say too, but we're making comments based on what's in your drawings and what's on the site currently. And I think, just to be clear, because I'm not sure if you totally are understanding what my thought is about being more detrimental. It's not so much the height, it's the fact that we have 500 square feet and you're going to 3,500 square feet. So I understand why it's one story, and I think your neighbors will appreciate that it's one story, so that, you know, it's not as tall and they can still see over it. And so, to me, it's the size, the square footage, not necessarily the height. So I know you keep mentioning, you know, other houses are on piles and they're 4-story tall, or, you know, to me, that's not the detrimental part for,
You're saying the detrimental part, if I understand it, is because it's going from, I don't know, let's say 600-700 square foot house to a 4,000 square foot house, or whatever it is.
yes,
That's what's detrimental in your eyes?
it's a huge increase in use for this site from what it currently is. And I don't think we should be looking at other, we always say every project is
So what is
unique.
the, what?
So if we did something on another project, that's fine, maybe we had different reasons for deciding that, or maybe, you know, there was completely different conditions. So we can talk about other projects that were approved or not approved, or your other house that was approved, but we're looking at this project and it's in a bubble on its own.
Yes.
Not related to other
But-
projects that have been approved recently, or last year, or 4 years ago.
But what are the guidelines for that? What are the guidelines?
The guidelines are what's in the zoning.
Exactly.
And in the
Not-
zoning
but
is
what you-
also
but what you-
our choice to, if we believe it's more detrimental, and why it's more detrimental.
What are the guidelines for being more
There are.
detrimental?
Well, it's up to the board's discretion.
So it's a discretionary thing.
It's in the zoning, what exactly we're allowed to,
So
to decide upon.
I don't understand that.
There's not a number. If you're looking for a number, there's not a number.
so,
There's not.
Well, there should be issues.
Well, it's,
wait,
again,
Mark, guys, you guys do feel that it's large.
yes.
Okay, so you guys need to find the exact wording in here that says what you wanna say, to back it up. And
And
you, and you have to make your argument as to all the pieces of improvements or betterments or meeting the requirements that are in the zoning. And that's the list that that's the list of judgment that we're gonna go down.
Okay.
And I think we wanna hear from Concom because of what was on the site previously, and what was undisturbed, and what you're putting over there, and their opinion of expanding over dunes that weren't expanded on, I think, you know, could have the same opinion as. Before you leave, we do have someone in the audience. Would you like to speak? You're just listening? Okay. So, with that, I'm gonna ask for a motion for a continuance. Is that clear?
May I just say one thing
Yeah.
before, if you don't mind, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I just want to say for the record, I want to make the point that in the letter that was read aloud, the long one, there are many inaccuracies. I just want to say that for the record.
Yeah, and I think
Technically,
that the
And
letter
we
has,
saw some of those based on the numbers that are not,
I'm sure, yeah.
and
the same. I agree with you.
that neighbor has written 2 letters. And you can write a rebuttal, but I also think that we've received the letter now that we need to clarify some of the instances in here as well.
I think you're very familiar with the project at this point too, so you can probably see them for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. All right. Is there a motion for a continuance?
I'll make a motion for continuance on June 16th, is it?
I think that was,
It's 18th?
18.
18th, June 18th, 7:30 here at Town Hall.
at 7:30.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. The 18th is, okay.
A second?
Second? Yep.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
You're
very
gonna
much.
ask her for anything?
I think we discussed,
Okay.
that, you know, we need to make our side argument, they need to make their side argument, and then we need to review the pieces.
Okay.
All right?
I would imagine I'll work on that, that neighborhood is unusually large, but it's nice where it was 2,200 square feet. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan either, but it's just, from what I understand, the role is just, like, listen, there's some big salt pans right in there, those dunes on that marsh side are definitely a sand catch. And the salt pans are in that part of the marsh, it's, compound's gonna have some issues.
Yeah. I think it's good.
They don't like, conservation doesn't like to make a decision until after zoning decides
Makes
on the
it
project.
That's what
So-
I'm saying.
But maybe they can make comments though,
They
right?
can, especially on dunes, and
Yeah.
provide advice.
Yeah.
That's the same catch up on that road, the wind.
All right, so, we continue, so we're not gonna debate this anymore. But I will.
Reach out.
I will reach out to Concom just to let them know our dilemma with that piece of information. You know, they don't have to make a decision, but if they have any guidance, we'd appreciate it as we all walk through this process. All righty, so the annual town meeting lumped all the zoning revisions to the bylaw and the request to go from 3 to 5 into 1. And by the 25th warrant, I don't know, there's probably about 65 people that left, and so passed. So what now happens, because it's changes to the bylaw, that piece of those warrants need to go to the state. The state needs to review changes to bylaw. They come back and say, check, and then somebody types it up, and then it actually becomes official. So it was approved, but it's not 100% official yet.
Okay.
So we're still operating under 3 until we figure that out. Once it's official, then the select board needs to figure out what the terms are, and what should happen is that we'd like, if we have 5 members, then we'd like the 5 members to be rotating so that, you know, we don't like 3 of us, terms come up for renewal in the same year. It's not like we're getting voted in, we're getting appointed, but it still is better just to have one appointee to deal with as opposed to allowing 3 to be appointed at the same time by a board that might, select board, which may have a opinion going one way as the other. So they're put in check by the 1 a year. That's, so, I don't know exactly sure the process, but that's what's going down.
Yeah.
Are you gonna reach out to town council regarding Jay Martell's letter too, because that needs to be resolved probably until the next meeting? Some of those issues.
If you have a question or definition, you can reach out to town council. I think, like I said, I will try to address, try to address the memo.
Okay.
But if you'd like clarification of something at this point, you can reach out
Okay.
separately.
Yeah, no, I was just talking about the memo.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there.
I know, and we're not legal people. We have Larry here as our legal person, so if there's something that comes up in terms of town bylaw and property, Larry's our expert.
Well, I'm not town council.
No, I know.
And I intentionally stay away from, or try to stay away from
But
that.
we look for you for some guidance, is what I'm saying.
ChatGPT makes constituents letters.
But if someone's referencing CMR 310 and it's the state residential building code, that's not a question for planning board, or it's, you know, we either could look it
Well,
up.
that just, I assume he's correct in the CMR reference. It's just the definition of a bedroom under the state code.
Right, and our definition says a bedroom shall meet the definition of the building code.
Yeah, I think it used to have to include a closet, but I think they removed that. But I
There's no
could be
closet.
wrong.
I've looked at this a million times.
There's actually
No
something-
Drop us
closet.
some level
It has to be
before.
7 feet minimum in both
And
directions.
that's that window.
It has to have an egress, and it has to have 7 feet in height.
And there's something about rooms that are not bedrooms that could potentially be bedrooms, like functionality. It's a whole nother.
Doesn't he have a right to have an STR, an accessory unit? By
Should-
right?
That is a question that I will ask town council, because the number of bedrooms dictates. If you have
Oh,
a septic
that's right.
system in
That-
Title V, that's what dictates. If you're on
Yeah.
Plum Island, you get one extra bedroom, so you may have a right to have an ADU, I misspoke earlier. You may have a right to have an ADU, but if you're only allowed one bedroom, you can't keep
You
adding
can't keep adding
Yeah.
bedrooms.
bedrooms.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
there's a catch, there's a different catch depending on
Yeah.
what
Makes
the-
sense.
Everyone's allowed an ADU if their Title V septic is up to it, or if they haven't maxed the bedroom requirement on Plum Island. There we go.
So,
All right, happy Thursday.
Motion to
Yeah,
end the meeting?
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.